On this episode of AV Week, we take a look at LG's OLED Canyon. It got released this week at CES. Are investment bankers ruining the AV industry and connecting with your clients through traveling roadshows? All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 333, recorded Friday, January 12th, 2018. It's relationships.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box, and by Christie Digital.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tom Albright. I'm your host. Welcome to 2018. This technically is not our first episode of 2018, but it's the first one where we're actually back in the studio, ready to rock and roll. With us to talk about all the news and information of the week. First and foremost, my buddy and pal and fellow 1974 birth year. His name is Harry Mead. And he is known as AV Grump. How are you, sir?
Not bad. How are you?
Doing well. Harry was part of an M&A last year, which we're going to talk about, which honestly it was one of our biggest stories of 2017. So he now works for Diversified.
Yep.
That's right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure nothing happened in the last 5 minutes.
Who I have to say hi to. It's Diversified.
Right. Joining us for the first time here, we have two new gentlemen. So Harry, be nice to them. First and foremost, Tracy Brevka from Biodynamic. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Also with us is Alex Simonescu from Float 4. How are you?
Pretty good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All right, so let's kick this off actually with a we're not wrapping up CES. Here's the thing, and honestly, I'll be very honest. Over the last 6 years of AVNation, I have been asked more in the last 6 months if I'm covering CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas this week. I stay as far away from CES as I humanly can be. No, I don't cover CES. There are plenty of folks who do it. They've got bigger budgets. They've been doing it longer. I let them do it. So one of those folks that actually do cover it rather well is our friends over at Residential Systems. So we're going to reference their story they're doing. And the reason we're going to bring this up is because of OLED and LG. Now, here's the thing. I'm a big fan of OLED. I've been waiting for it for a long time. But this OLED Canyon is the closest thing to a real flexible OLED that I've seen in a while. It's pretty, it's gorgeous, and quote unquote, the open frame commercial display. That's what I want to focus on here because AV Week is our commercial show here. Harry, I'm going to start with you on this. You are my friend, but you're also my curmudgeon. Does this push the ball forward in making OLED a reality for the commercial space?
I think it's getting closer. I'm from a commercial standpoint, I'm not as hung up on the flexibility aspect.
Okay.
I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. That Canyon is amazing looking. Okay. And the wavy walls and everything that LG has had for a couple of shows now, those are friggin' awesome. But when it comes down to it, for bread and butter, you're looking at trying to get a display on a wall that somebody can look at and get work done. So you don't need it to do all kinds of zigzags when you're doing that. Now, if you're designing a lobby and you want these, it's going to be great. Okay, but the biggest things that I'm looking at for it is like ADA type applications where it doesn't stick out from the wall. I've got a system building that I'm doing right now where they have to put everything in niches because everything's too thick. So every display is going into a niche. If the display is only this thick, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing that I'm looking at is you've got lightweight, thin, awesome looking displays that you can just get into places. Now, they have 1,000,001 digital signage uses. Okay. I'm not as big on the digital signage stuff, so that's why I'm not like pushing that quite as hard. But I see the application, and I see big time application for that, for signage and for like display type displays as opposed to functional type displays for like working type things.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. but that's pretty much where I'm going. And if they're cranking out, and we got to look at size, because I mean everything is it all depends on size and money. If it becomes cost effective to go with an OLED over a standard LED, when you get up into like 80-inch or something like that, I mean, I'm doing a lot of 80s right now. So if people are, if we can get an OLED at an 80, it's going to be so much easier to deal with, so much easier to hang, so much easier. It makes life way easier.
Well, and from that aspect, actually, even if there is a premium on the OLED, I would take a slight off of what you said. You have to factor in cost of labor and cost of time. If the OLED is even slightly more, I would say that it's still a win-win because of the benefit to the technology and the look of it. Plus, if it's going to take you less time and less effort to hang it and mount it.
Agreed.
All right. Alex, Float 4, if you're not familiar with Float 4, they're pretty good content creators. So actually taking off what Harry said about the digital signage aspect, when you look at displays like this and even specifically the LG, what goes through your mind when you see this as a canvas?
Yes, I see this. When I saw that picture earlier this week, I was like, that is awesome. The fact that we can actually create these shapes and contours with OLED at this scale, I think is very interesting. We would have probably gone with an LED product prior to that. But now that it's scalable, I mean, I saw the installation in Seoul at the airport where they had a bunch of these hung on the ceiling, and that was a pretty large installation in itself. But seeing, we work with a lot of architects. We work in built environments, and we're more on the form aspect of it rather than function. So it's really about what it evokes and the emotions that it solicits. But I totally get the fact that there's an imperative for functionality in some of that applications as well. When I see this, I'm really excited because of the things that we could do with digital media in a built environment, and how it doesn't look like a screen that's hung to a wall, where it looks like it's a material in the space. And the more I see these types of innovations that are happening, the more excited I get, because I see this continual evolution where we'll just be able to make it more and more embedded into built environment. And you see at this scale, I mean, who knows? Salesforce might say this is our lobby in 5 years or something like that. So I think that is awesome. I think it also brings a lot of challenges, but challenges are what nurtures evolution. So content production on a scale of this size is completely different than what we're used to with the vast majority of digital media platforms or displays that are still that are in 16:9, and there's a necessity to have an established format. But as we use digital media as a material into the space, that's where these challenges come up, is how do you create content for something that large? How do you frame it? Because you can't see the whole thing at once, right? And all the systems that do the playback, and then interactivity, which is really one of our specialties as well, is how do you generate real-time content at that pixel count? It's like 294 panels, is that it? And yeah. They're not 4K, right? They're full HD, I guess. Regardless of whether they're 4K or full HD, that's a lot of pixels to push.
Mm-hmm. It is. And actually, I want to real quickly to on Alex mentioned the Salesforce lobby. We'll put a link in on the show page. That lobby itself is an piece of art. right? This is the one where if you haven't seen it, again, we'll put a link on the page. It mimics the weather outside. So if it's raining, the entire, it's not quite floor to ceiling, but it's a 20-foot or 25-foot lobby, and about 2/3 of the way down are these displays, and the water over kind of cascades over the doorways, and it's quite well done.
Yeah.
So I can absolutely see this being replaced as long as nothing else pops up in the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, it is technology, and I don't expect the OLED this Canyon to be static. I don't expect this to be the last word on it. Tracy, real quick question, and you can talk about this if you'd like, but really overarching, what does CES mean for the commercial audio video industry? I mean, this is one example, but it's people who go to Infocom really don't have the breadth or the scope of that show.
Well, I think it brings technology in a little bit more. I mean, CES, I in my last life with Audio Technica, I went to CES a lot, and you always saw what was going to happen 2 years from now, pretty much at that show, and then it would bleed into the other markets. When I investigate a little more about OLED, because I really don't. That's not what I do. I do microphones, and it sounds good. But the uses I can see with this type of screen, Broadway productions, live shows, people who have a larger imagination and can put it, like a production company who wants to put this huge set on, but they couldn't do it with the LED screens because they're too damn heavy. So it gives a little bit more flexibility to these people who want to be a little more creative in what they're doing. So I can see there's going to be commercial use for this, but not in a corporate situation. There's going to be use on a Broadway stage. There's going to be use on a tour, a rock and roll tour. They're doing all these they're playing orchestrations to Star Wars behind an orchestra.
Yep.
Something like that. I can see what an application for these things would be stupendous, and it would look great.
And that's actually a really good point, is the fact that if you haven't gone to a live show in the last 30 years, this is really that is where a lot of this cutting edge technology is put to good use. Mm-hmm. I remember, good Lord, this has been 10, 15 years ago, U2's tour, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. They had these ping pong size LEDs, and it was a curtain behind the band, and that was their display. They used it for image magnification as well as other artistic work that they put behind it. Now, when you're sitting, 50, 100 rows back, you can see the breadth of it. But if you were up on it, it was a ping pong size LED. It wasn't a high resolution, but it didn't need to be, because the effect was the same. Right. And again, back to U2, I remember in the late 80s they did the Zoo TV tour, right? And this is one of the first bands to actually come out and do a full multimedia presentation as part of their live set.
Right.
So, all right, guys, let's move.
Just on that as well, just adding, Pink Floyd did that too. I mean, go back and look at a video from Pulse from like 90 or whenever that came out. Holy crap.
Yeah, and that was in the same time frame
aside from the pigs with the eyes and stuff. But
Harry's apparently much older than I am. All right. Moving on, our first M&A story of the year. M&A, just for those of you who can't follow along, is mergers and acquisitions. Mm-hmm. This time, it's PSAV buying Hargrove. Now, two things, and Tracy, I want to start with you on this.
Okay.
First of all, PSAV is first of all, if you didn't know, is backed by Goldman Sachs, right? An investment bank.
Right.
And where I want to go with this is talk for a second about this increasing interest in the audiovisual industry by investment bankers, right?
Right. Well, I mean, you could take it back to GC as well.
Mm-hmm.
Investment bankers bought Guitar Center as an investment to build their portfolio, diversify a little bit into a different market to see where it, all is going to go. I mean, it's been sold a couple more times since then. But I think they're looking for a way to grab more market share of that they don't know anything about. So they'll bring these people in and they check out their business, see what's going on. If they can make a profit from it, they'll find ways to improve it. If it's flat, they may hang on to it for a little while until there's a little improvement and sell it to another investment banker. But I just think it's this whole merger mentality that we've been in audio for quite a long time. The AVI Systems, AVI SPL, Whitlock, name one of the larger integrators. When they just buy little companies all the time. They're not an investment bank, but they are, they're buying to build their brand a little bit more. And I think some of the banks are doing this too. They just want to have a bigger portfolio and say, well, we do this too. So why don't you come on? And they're probably attracting other markets to come with them too. I think it's just probably if we can grab this, hey, we're doing this too. Why don't you come along, because we're helping them grow so we can help you grow.
Yeah.
Pretty soon there'll be Pepsi.
Alex, a little pointed question here. Is there a danger here in the investment part? Because let's be frank here. These folks are in it to make money. Not that we're doing this altruistically, right? Yes, businesses are in it to make money, but what they're looking for is a quicker than 30-year return on their investment, right? Yeah. They're looking for 5 years on the long shot. So is there a danger here to the industry as a whole for investment bankers to be kind of focused on us right now?
I think change can bring very good things, and it also brings things that are unwanted. So it'll come with both in hand. I think we see this in this specific case. I think what we need to have more insight on is what motivated this. Is this, like you said, they saw a business opportunity to make that company grow, or is it to complement PSAV's offering? And we saw similar acquisitions that have been done in the past couple of years, where some manufacturers, for example, that acquired content production companies like Christie did with Arsenal Media, did so. And the motivation behind that can be both beneficial for, and in the end, it must have been a mutually beneficial deal, because those are the ones that you usually want to close. But I think if it's done for the right reasons for the companies to evolve, I think as long as that remains a big motivator and not just return on investment, then it'll make things evolve in the right way. If it's just about return on investments, if it's just about balance sheets, if it's just that aspect that's motivating all of this, it might be a little trickier to see why a company would agree to it rather than pass. And we've had offers in the past, and the best things we never did, is to say, no, this is not for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and each company is different. So Harry was not bought by an investment firm. Let's be frank here. Harry was bought by Diversified. Harry's company was bought by Diversified. Harry himself was not bought, at least that I know. But Harry's company was bought by Diversified. What was it, Harry? August, September?
Something like that, yeah.
Somewhere in there. And
I'm not sure exactly when, because it happened and then they announced it, and then because we got the we got the announcement internally, and then because it was a the announcement came out in October,
okay.
Yeah, because I was out on surgery leave.
Yes.
So watching this company meeting on my laptop in the recliner, going, okay.
That's because you were half hopped up on morphine too. So
I welcome my new corporate overlords.
So let's talk about this for a second, because not because you were bought by an investment firm, but just the merger and acquisition part. This is not your first time at this dance. So when you have mergers and acquisitions like this, walk me through the first month and the first couple of years of working with, like you said, your new bosses.
Well, the first week basically consists of, and pardon me if this messes your rating up, but holy shit.
Okay.
Well put.
So it's finding, okay, who are these guys? What do we need to do? What's going on? What do we so there's a bit of just finding out what's going on first. and saying, okay, this is okay, so these are our new corporate overlords. Let's go find out what they do. And then within about a month, within that first month, 2 months, you're getting meetings like cross meetings between the big company and the not as big company. And what happens with, okay, so say I'm in engineering department. Okay, so we have all of our engineering stuff and all of our engineering standards and everything else. Okay, now we've got these guys. And now I'm not talking too much out of school because you can pretty much guess it, but Diversified's taken a lot of people recently. Bought a lot of companies over the past few years. So they're not exactly unified on their engineering processes
because they've acquired so many other companies.
Because it's been an acquiring process.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's only natural. That's not, like I say, I don't think I'm saying anything out of school here.
No, you would expect that, but you would also expect it when that time that period ends, you would also expect a lot of meetings within your new engineering group to hash that stuff out, right?
Yeah, and that's what's happening.
Okay.
And that's what's going on is we've got people because it kind of filters. So you get like the presidents will talk to each other, and then the directors will talk to each other, and it just sort of starts filtering down at that point. And you start figuring out, okay, well, who's doing what where, getting people. One of the important things, at least I think, is that they're pulling people from all the different groups, so to speak, to be representative at the figure out what our standards are going to be. And so that's because you got to have buy-in from everybody, because it can't just be, by the way, this is what you're doing, and it won't work. So
no, because there's an old adage of, you lead people kind of where you want them to go, but you also bring them along. It's not dragging and screaming. It's just you bring them along in the process.
Yeah.
By getting feedback and getting their insights. And the other thing is, not everybody knows everything. Sorry, I don't care if you've been doing it for 100 years or 3 years. You're going to learn something new from somebody.
Absolutely.
Right? Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's pretty much the deal. Is like, okay, well, so just starting to kind of unify everything. I mean, it starts out with branding. I mean, like you get the email the next day that says, by the way, this is what your email signature needs to look like. And
here's your new email address.
I was gonna say, and for us, it's okay. Your MCW Solutions email will still work, and that's what your Outlook is technically logged into right now. But your diversifiedus.com email is automatically forwarding into that, and whenever you send something out, it says Diversified US on it.
That's awesome. So, all right. As we
sorry about that, I just dropped off.
Alex is having some interesting technical difficulties. So, all right, guys, we're gonna wrap up here. One last story from our friends over at Commercial Integrator. Clear One's doing an interesting thing and something that I think is kind of cool. No, they're not suing anybody yet.
Who did they buy?
or sue somebody for patent infringement. But they're doing a road show. And the headline here says it all for me. It says Clear One launches 2018 Connection Tour for integrators who can't make it to trade shows.
Yep.
Harry, I want to start with you on this, mainly because you and I have talked about this for years. Harry has been, has worked for big companies and small companies, and there are some years that he does not go to Infocom, the trade show, mainly because there are folks that I'll talk to that depending on the engineering department, depending on the sales department, some people only bring salespeople, some people only bring engineers, depending on the integrator. Some people bring everybody. Some people treat Infocom as a bonus, right? If you do well, then you get to go to Infocom. So Harry, programs like this that Clear One is doing, where they're going around the country and connecting with their clients that can't make it to whatever trade show, pick your one. How important are these for manufacturers to connect with the integrators that are selling and putting in their products?
It can be. It can be very, very important. The because I mean, like you said, some people just can't get to these places you can't get to these shows to see what's going on. I mean, granted, you've got wall-to-wall coverage of Infocom, so you can pretty much see what's going on, but there's a difference between reading a bunch of articles on things. I mean, some people, articles at Infocom go all the way from regurgitated press releases to this is the most awesome thing that I've ever seen in my entire life, and I think that everyone needs to have 4. And you do that, and you can sift through that a little bit, but unless you've got your hands on some of these things, it's not the same. Okay,
Exactly.
that's what I do at the show, is I actually get my hands on these different pieces of equipment. I want to see what are they actually doing, ins and outs, what's going on, how easy is this thing going to be to actually interact with, so that I know if it's going to be something that's going to add time or save time on an installation. Okay, you can have the greatest guts known to man, but if you can't get anything in or out of it, then there's no point.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy, from your standpoint and biodynamic standpoint, is this something where you as the manufacturer need to spearhead this, or can you work with your rep firms?
Well, it's actually, I've done a lot of that with rep firms. I have a couple of rep firms who actually do a road show. One of them does a couple of road shows, one in the spring and one in the fall. And it's basically for that idea, for their guys that can't make it to any of the trade shows, we bring it to them basically, at least with the products that they're representing.
Yeah.
And in my experience, and I've done these types of road shows pretty much my whole career in the industry from 1990. You get interest, you get sales, you get more people asking questions. Well, if I do this with it, will this happen? But they've had a chance to pick it up, to listen to it, in my case with microphones, to talk to someone who actually knows how it works. And it sort of brings them the experience of a trade show without having to, spend the thousands of dollars to get there. I think it's very effective. I mean, part of my job as a salesman is to travel and talk to people and show them stuff, but I can see more people in a week traveling with my rep to these different towns with my gear than I can, when I travel, one-on-one with a rep. So I think they're very valuable for manufacturers, especially.
Yeah. All right, Alex, we'll give you the last word on this. Stuff like this, is there something that that you wish, or maybe a company you wish would come around more often than they do?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, well, since we talked about LG, why not? But I think in the end, like it's really good to be able to see things in real life. I mean, I've seen too many products that look so great on a spec sheet, and then you see it, and you got to see it to believe it in the end. And despite the fact that it's very much technology driven, it remains a people business. So you need to meet people and develop those relationships. And I think that's a really, really good way to do it. And one that is cost effective in multiple ways, both for people who attend, but also for the company itself. I mean, trade show booths are not cheap, so having these sort of like pop-up trade shows, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, is the fact that they aren't cheap by any stretch of imagination. So
no, they aren't, Tim, are they?
No. Hey, we actually stopped doing booths last year, and then not because of anything, honestly, because we realized that we don't sell anything. So I have no technology. I mean, you can see Harry and me chatting like this on the show floor, but what benefit is that? So,
but Tim,
and piggybacking on Alex's comment about relationship building, that's what this business is. It's relationships.
Yep.
You're going to buy from people you like and people you trust. And if you can't see people face to face that often, you're not going to build that up as quickly. So this type of pop-up trade shows is also really valuable for that as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. All right, guys, that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for helping me kick off the year. Mr. Harry Mead, how do people find you, sir?
Well, they can find me if I pop my head out of a hole for too long, and I try to avoid people finding me because I generally don't like people.
He is an engineer, folks.
Basically, Twitter at AVGrump. You can see musings on many different topics and see who I've pissed off this week.
Yes. All right, very good. Tracy, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate being on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. How do people find you and or Biodynamic?
They can find Biodynamic is by biodynamicnorthamerica.com. I'm at Tracy at biodynamicusa.com. I will be at the NAMM show in a couple of weeks, showing off some new gear. And Biodynamic will be at the ISE show at Hall 1, booth M100. And they will be introducing some fairly nice new products, especially in the install world, covering like huddle spaces, collaborative rooms, stuff like that. So
very good. Yeah. Hall one for me personally is I consider like Hall 1 and Hall 2 like the main halls, right? Mm-hmm. That's the big ones, and those where a lot of folks will congregate, at least for the first.
I'm waiting for them to invite me to go.
It has turned into my favorite show. It really has, for a lot of different reasons. So, Alex, thank you so much for hanging out. And even though you had some technical difficulties, how do people get a hold of you or Float 4?
Float 4, well, you can reach us at float4.com. That's a numeral 4. And if you want to reach me by email, it's alexsimeo@float4.com. And I'll be at ISE in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be bringing some demos of our new Real Motion platform. So, if you want to check that out, hit me up.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me on the Twitters. I've moved on from grousing about the Bears to grousing about the Blues. I'm St. Louis, but go by the website if you would please, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. Tracy mentioned ISE. We were already gearing up for ISE. Every day, the month of January, we're sending out a new interview from somebody exhibiting at the show and talking about what they will be showing at the show, and actually have a couple of sneak previews for some from some folks that are kind of letting slip what they're going to be announcing that week. So, also while you're there, check out our underwriter section. These are the folks who help us financially and help us do things like ISE and DSE, and eventually in June. As we bring you InfoComm. So all that and more at the website, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.